So you can cut that music for a start. Leave it. Yes, I may be in the deep south of the good old US of A, but there's going to be no scenes from Deliverance here today. Yes, I'm in Alabama to have a look at Mercedes' brand new venture, the M-Class, the vehicle that they believe is going to take on the Discoveries, Range Rovers and Explorers of the world in the very lucrative sports utility vehicle market. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, is this the market leader that everybody's predicting, or is it just another 4x4 with acres of room and a set of sporty alloys? There's only one way to find out. Let's have a drive. By the way, if you do see any canoes or dodgy men with moustaches, be sure to give us the nod, because tonight I don't want to be squealing like a pig. Let's go.
Imagine a woman with all the style and elegance of Audrey Hepburn, coupled with the obvious talents of Victoria Principal. Throw in a little of the muscle and power of the Ewing Corporation, and well, you've created a monster or the perfect woman. Well, it's a little like what Mercedes are attempting to do here with the M-Class. They're trying to marry the traditional values of a Mercedes, build quality, refinement and style, with the attributes of a sport utility vehicle, ruggedness, cargo room and ground clearance. A difficult challenge in anyone's book, and the fact that it's entirely built and assembled here in Alabama, and Mercedes have given themselves a tall order indeed.
Oh, shut up. Here we go, this is it. The M-Class. This is the V6 3.2 model with 3 valves per cylinder and 2 spark plugs, which Mercedes say gives it very clean emissions. Well, as you can see, it's a very stylish car. It's got Mercedes written all over it, really. Well, it would do, wouldn't it? And it's quite a cumbersome big fella. Got a big feeling, very big tyres, very wide. I could talk all day, but I'll tell you what, the temperature is into the high 90s now, and I'm very hot. And inside there is air conditioning. Guess where I'm going?
I do hope you understand me getting back into the air-conditioned interior of the Mercedes. You see, I've been brought up on English winters, not Alabama summers, where climate control is leaving the window slightly ajar to get rid of the condensation.
This 217 brake horsepower version of the M-Class gives adequate, if not excessive, pulling power. Remember, I'm still talking about the engine, provided, of course, you want to go in a straight line. Mid-range torque is there, but it's not immediate, so if you want to overtake, then plan ahead. On some of Alabama's steeper hills, you might find yourself struggling for power, but as most of the roads are straight, like everywhere else in America, and you just need that 40 to 60 range, you'll find the M-Class more than adequate. The handling of the M-Class is rather predictable for a 4x4 made in America. In and out of corners there is roll, but as I'm from Manchester, I'll just roll with it.
The obvious danger with the concept of this car is that it'll end up being a jack of all trades but a master of none. It's essentially trying to be several cars rolled into one. However, that's the car's best quality. It is a jack of all trades. I mean, if this car was called Jack, then it'd be a competent plumber, handy in the garden, in fact very versatile all round the house.
If you're a Mercedes fan, then you'll love the M-Class. It's Mercedes through and through. There's leather and walnut everywhere inside the cabin, although I have to say some parts of the plastic dash I find a bit tacky. But in terms of equipment, it's absolutely loaded. It's more loaded than Richard Branson the morning after he's won a rollover on the National Lottery. There's air conditioning, a brilliant stereo, loads of things. It's brilliant.
But seriously, along with the air conditioning and integrated stereo, you do get the usual Mercedes level of specification. Electrical seats, electric windows, full leather interior, and all those airbags are standard.
If Inspector Gadget had a car, he'd have an M-Class. And if all that wasn't enough, these seats are as comfortable as Jimmy Savile's armchair. With the elevated driving position, what the PR like to call the commanding view position, you do feel safe in the M-Class. Visibility is very good, although the front pillars are slightly irritating, and the rear angular pillars seem unnecessarily large, creating possible blind spots. But safe you are. With front, passenger and side airbags, it means that if you do get involved in the wacky races, you're going to be in the equivalent of the executive bouncy castle.
Well, the M-Class certainly feels like a Mercedes, but is it built like one? I went along to their new factory in Alabama to see for myself.
And here it is, the brand new state-of-the-art Mercedes plant in Tuscaloosa, Alabama. Inspired by BMW and Spartanburg, Mercedes have decided to base the whole of their M-Class operation here, using local labour and personnel, but Stuttgart design and work practices. Remember, inside there are 1,450 team members with no captains or managers. It's a larger squad than Man United could ever manage. And remember, there are no executive dining facilities here and no executive car parking places. So, if you're an exec and thinking of working for Mercedes, I'd go somewhere else. Let's go inside.
In January 1993, Daimler-Benz announced their intention to build what was to become known as the M-Class, so far 0 on the Richter scale. However, it was 3 months later that Benz announced it was going to build its new car in North America. It was at this point that automotive shockwaves started to register. America is home to the largest market for sport utility vehicles, so it makes sense to build a vehicle where you're going to be selling most units. But the decision wasn't just economical. The proposed plant posed engineering questions.
The paint shop in Mercedes-Benz factory is pressurised, so they've got what's called an air shower, which means any contaminants on things are apparently blown off by this air shower. I prefer just to wash and go myself. Apparently that's an engine. No, it is. That's the V8 that apparently is coming out in spring 1999. You saw me in the V6 the other day. That was powerful. This baby generates even more horsepower. Brilliant.
Could Daimler-Benz use German work practices with a North American workforce? And could they get that workforce to apply European build quality standards to the new vehicle? The answers to these and other questions seem to be becoming clearer. The car I drove had done nearly 20,000 miles and had presumably been put through its paces by some quite cynical hacks, but it did seem to be bearing up well, certainly better than me in the Alabama heat.
$300 million investment with a $40 million extension, an awful lot of team members, 1,450, and even more team wear. And at the end of the production line, 300 M-classes per day. That's 65,000 units per year. An awful lot of work, an awful lot of statistics, but I think you'll agree, certainly worth it. The M-Class. Okay, we've already seen the M-Class on the roads, and impressive it was. However, to see what it can really do and have some fun, it's time to off-road, or as the boys say, day 2, let's off-road.
This off-road course has been purpose-built by Mercedes to display the strengths of the M-Class, so obviously it's not going to incorporate any gradients or obstacles that the car can't handle. But nevertheless, the challenges posed here are still considerable. Hills steeper than you'd find in most national parks, and puddles deeper than anything even a rainy week in Manchester could provide.
Okay, talk me through it, Trevor.
Now here on this down here, you're going to wait till all 4 wheels touch the ground, ease on through, and then release the brake at your leisure, and the engine braking will take over. No worries.
No worries, he says.
No worries.
Good Lord.
Right.
Right. This is terrific fun. We don't have hills like this in Manchester, but good fun nonetheless. Right, I want brake, accelerator here, yeah?
Accelerator here, definitely. And
gas.
Again, anytime the wheels start to slip, steady acceleration, pull you out every time.
Steady acceleration.
Steady acceleration, about 2,000 RPM.
2,000 RPM, and no problem.
No problem. A little different from some four-wheel drive systems.
Okay.
Takes a little getting used to, but it's really user-friendly.
This is the ETS that Trevor's talking about. Basically, there's 3 differentials, and if even 3 wheels start to slip, as much of the power as possible goes to that 4th wheel by applying a brake to the other 3 wheels. Was that about right?
Brilliant.
Good. I was paying attention in that lecture.
That's right, you sure were. This slope going down through the woods, there's no need to brake at all.
No?
It's relatively extreme, but the engine brake will take care of the whole way down.
It certainly does.
Should be no worries.
Okay, to avoid driving error, like just back there, do talk me through it. If you think I'm going to miss a turn, do tell me.
Okay, you're doing great.
Thank you very much. I bet you say that to all the crap drivers you have.
Okay, this is the torsion articulation test. So first and foremost, the front left and right rear tire are going to be spinning. So the ETS will detect that these tires are spinning, add ABS brakes to them, build up the torque, which will transfer to the other tires and pull us right through, just like so. Beautiful. Now here in the middle, you can run into some problems, but in other vehicles, but in the M-Class, again, steady.
Just tell me power or brake.
Steady acceleration, say no worries. Vehicle does it for you. That was brilliant.
Oh dear, that was the bit I was worrying about. Trevor's giving me the full SP and I just want to know power or brake. This is the most fun I've had recently while still keeping my clothes on. It is absolutely terrific. You can keep your roller coasters, you can keep your candy and your steak. Just try and get yourself on an off-road course, because this is terrific. Big toys for big boys! Okay, Simon Oldfield, Mercedes-Benz UK. We've just been enjoying some of the more obvious virtues of the M-Class. What do you see as the other strengths of the car?
Well, I think the other major strength that this car has over its competition is the on-road performance. The refinement, the smoothness is everything you would expect from a Mercedes-Benz saloon, but you're getting it in a 4x4 vehicle. This is largely because of the 4 ETS system. It means that you don't need things like locking differentials that add weight and noise and reduce the performance on-road of most 4x4s.
It certainly flatters drivers into thinking they're a better driver than they are. It certainly did with me. The ETS is very good. What do you see as the car's main competitors in the UK?
Well, I think it's a case of the usual suspects. The Range Rover and Land Rover Discovery, obviously the domestic competitors in this market. The Grand Cherokee and Cherokee models from Chrysler are very good. And also the Ford Explorer and Toyota models, the Land Cruiser, Colorado and Amazon, and also the Mitsubishi Shogun, that's been in the UK market for quite a while.
The car, the entry price is just a shade under $32,000. Do you think that's competitive?
I think it's very well priced. It's somewhere between the Grand Cherokee and the Range Rover models. And I think when you match up the specification, the performance, it offers the best value in the market.
And as we've seen, the M-Class is being built here in this tremendous plant in Alabama, soon to be supplemented by the plant in Austria. What can you say to customers to reassure them that actually this is, in every sense, a Mercedes?
Well, I think the important thing is who it's made by, and the car is designed and made by Mercedes-Benz. The plant was designed by Mercedes-Benz, and the fact that it's built in Alabama, which is in the US, which is the biggest 4x4 market in the world, just makes a lot of sense. And I think customers have come to expect that from a lot of products, not just in the automotive industry, that it's the provenance of the manufacturer and the designer that's the most important thing.
Okay, but then again, you would say that, wouldn't you?
They pay my bills.
And quite significantly, you're twisting your arm up your back as you said it. Thank you, Simon. Cheers.
All things considered, the M-Class performed well on and off-road, and it is great fun. So if you've got £32,000 to spend and want a refined sports utility vehicle, then my advice is certainly to give the M-Class a test drive. Could well bring a smile to your face.
This is the story of how the little guy beat the big guy at his own game. Now, the little guy is International Motors of West Bromwich, and the big guy is Vauxhall Motors. And the game, well, the rights to sell this vehicle. Now, back in 1987, International Motors first launched the Trooper. It rapidly won a good reputation for reliability and toughness. It was cheaper than a Land Cruiser or a Shogun and more comfortable than a basic Land Rover. Trouble was, Vauxhall started casting envious eyes at the International Motors' success. Their Frontiera wasn't going terribly well, so when the new model came in 1992, Vauxhall launched it as well as the Vauxhall Monterey, and I remember the launch of the vehicle. And the result? Well, here we are in Bonnie, Scotland again, with the new Isuzu Trooper sold through International Motors of West Bromwich. Vauxhall will still sell you a Monterey. In fact, they'd be delighted to sell you one. They've still got a lot of last year's models to shift. But General Motors, which owns Vauxhall and 37% of Isuzu, has allowed International Motors to launch the new vehicle. 3 trim levels, standard, duty and citation. 2 body styles, short wheelbase like this and long wheelbase. And 2 new engines. This is the new petrol engine, a 3.5 litre double overhead camshaft V6, 24 valves. Developing 215 brake horsepower. That's enough to give it a maximum speed of 112 miles an hour and a sub 10-second 0-60 time. But the really big news is the new diesel engine, the first pressurized rail injection diesel in a passenger car in the UK. Developed by Caterpillar, the earth-moving people, it means that the diesel is in a pressurised rail on top of the engine, and electronic injectors put precisely the right amount of fuel into each cylinder. And pretty massive cylinders they are too. This is a 3-litre engine and it's only a 4-cylinder. Develops huge amounts of torque low down, and the new injection, according to Isuzu, means that it doesn't rev up like an earth mover. You've got instant throttle response. Quite a functional interior. They haven't forgotten their roots as working vehicles, and in fact the van version is still available. Looks pretty utilitarian, quite bare plastic, but quite a high level of interior equipment. Rather messy design, and thankfully avoiding the fake wood that you see in so many of these allegedly luxury 4x4s. But the real test of something like this is, how does it go off-road? Isuzu took us to the top of a mountain near Kelso to explore off-road capability. With the demonstrators on mud tyres, we headed up into the conifer forest where heavy wood machinery had been tearing great chunks out of the peat bog. Even so, not desperately demanding, and the Trooper just romped through everything we could find. The Trooper always had a big tough chassis underneath the bodywork, and of course that continues. However, they've been playing around with the spring rates and the damper rates and the stiffness of the anti-roll bars, and in addition to that they've also moved the wheels out slightly on the body. In other words, it's got a wider track. The result is that it's got a more predictable ride on the road. It feels as though it goes in a straight line now, whereas before, like a lot of big 4x4s, it tended to sort of move around on the road and need constant steering correction. Changes in the transmission department too. There's now a fascia mounted switch, so you can select 4-wheel drive in high range at any speed on the move up to 62 miles an hour. As before, selection of low range is by this lever down on the transmission tunnel. There's a new automatic gearbox, 3-speed with an overdrive ratio, and it's interesting that Isuzu say this vehicle is quicker to 60 miles an hour in automatic form than it is in manual gearbox form, and that's against the industry norm. Must be something to do with the truck-like gearbox. Prices? Well, the range runs from 19,000 to 26,650. The Isuzu Trooper, okay, it's faster and smoother than its predecessors, but at heart it's still a vehicle that really could work for its living, if you need it to. It hasn't quite joined the carpet, leather and walnut set. Good.
Welcome back. We're now up to Module 2 of the Westfield sports car build. And in this module, we actually complete the front suspension. Look, here it is. As you remember, in Module 1 we fitted the bottom wishbone and the top wishbone. Now we're going to fit the spring and shock absorber, the coilover. We're also going to fit the front hub, discs and brake unit, along with the bottom and top ball joints. Now, I've already fitted them on the right hand side of the car. Let's see how it works on the left. Right, now I've left all the bits in this nice handy shelf called a car. There's the bottom ball joint and the top ball joint. The top ball joint literally just screws in here, like that. A little bit of copper slip on the threads. And neatly screw it into place. There, leaving it a bit loose. Right, pop the bottom one in. The important thing there is that the bolts are put in from the top to the bottom. And again, just loosely bolted in. Right, we'll just get this shock absorber in. You see, I'm going to have problems with that. Just get the old Birmingham screwdriver on that and knock it through with a drift. Right, that's done it. Where there's a will, it can be easily persuaded. Brilliant, that's the coilover fitted. Important point to note is that that screw which adjusts the suspension settings on the outside so you can get at it. Right, I think we'll go and get the hub now. Oh, this is the hub, a little bit weighty. And it does say it's the left hand side as well, so that's the right one. Okay, this unit's a bit heavy, so we'll put it straight on and quickly pop some nuts and bolts in position. Bottom one up. Two important things to note when you fit in the hub is that the steering arm should be at the bottom and poke out forwards, and the brake caliper should be at the back. I've had a look at the manual, and the next thing is to put the steering rack on. And in true television style, here's one that I did earlier. As you can see, it's fitted with 4 bolts, 2 there and 2 there, and we follow it all the way to the end. This little bit here is called a track rod end. Now, I've fitted the right hand side, I'm just about to fit the left hand side. Just go down here and I'll get it fitted.